Hey guys, welcome back to Real Housewives Recaps. Today I am covering Below Deck Season 8, Episode 9, The Devil You Know. We're going to get into the episode. We're going to talk about what's going on with Francesca, with Izzy, and with Rachel. So let's get into it. Hey guys, I just want to take a second and say if you're enjoying this show, please check out my Patreon. Go to patreon.com, search Real Housewives Recaps, or check the comments below and I'll put a link. And for $1 a week, you can support my show and get 4 bonus episodes per month. I'm covering Scary Island, like the greatest season of Real Housewives of New York. So check it out. Thanks so much. Okay, so the episode starts out. They are still in Antigua. The captain is talking to Francesca, and Francesca is saying, I can't have her as a second stew. And the captain is saying, I don't know if anyone with the level of standard we need is available. So it's a whole thing. We talk about this every week. My personal opinion, I think Francesca sucks. I can now see why Elizabeth sucks as well. It's interesting to me, and we'll get into it. I think Francesca's lack of communication is what is driving this whole thing. That's my opinion. But, yeah, so, okay, Francesca and Rob are flirting. Fran says that she wishes she had someone to teach her how to fly fish. Rob has zero game, which we see later, and doesn't understand that she's kind of fishing, no pun intended, she's kind of setting it up. So all he has to say is, hey, on your day off, how about we go? Whatever. Okay, so in the kitchen, we see that the captain is keeping an eye on Rachel. She is setting up this beautiful Paris night. Oh my gosh, she knocks this one out of the park. So remember, these are the guests that we thought were going to be awful and high maintenance. They even say later in the episode, they ended up being the best guests. I was talking to some of you guys about this. I totally want to party with these people. They seem just the right amount out there that they'd be a lot of fun. So it's Paris night. Everybody's getting dressed up. We did breeze right over. So Izzy and Elizabeth did end up secretly going swimming. I thought that would come up in a plot point, but it didn't, and I guess it really doesn't matter. Who cares? It made him happy, and it seemed to do a world of good for Elizabeth, so that's cool. The guests weren't around, so who cares? Okay, so it's a 10-course tasting menu. Everybody's in beret and gloves. The guests are all dressed up. They seem to be loving the food. There's this whole thing about having duck eggs, and Aisling is stressed about gently cracking them, and it just looked like a beautiful meal. It looked spectacular. The guests seemed over the moon about it. Rachel really put a lot of work into it. Now let's just talk in general terms here. What are your thoughts on Rachel? I think she is probably, Captain Lee said it, she's the best chef they've ever had. Not probably. She looks like she's the best chef they've ever had. The guests absolutely love her food, This girl, one of you guys had me laughing so hard because you said you thought she had Tourette's. I'm kind of leaning that way too. I'm somebody who likes to cuss and say crazy things. It's more about shock factor, but this girl, Rachel puts me, sorry, I have a little bit of a sinus thing going on. That's why I keep coughing and I sound a little crazy. Okay, Rachel puts me to shame because she says some crazy things. But anyway, so what are your thoughts on Rachel? Do you think, so Eddie had a good point. He's like, she left us when we needed her, and she left us in a lurch. And, while I go hot and cold with Eddie, I kind of see where he's coming from. Now, I thought he didn't handle it great later when she needed a dishwasher, but I kind of saw his point a little bit. Like, she sure didn't give them any respect, so why should they respect her, But then again, Captain Lee decided to have her back on the boat, so I guess at that point you kind of have to respect her, help her, especially because the food seems to be what brings on the big tips. the service does as well, but it's the food. I mean, that seems to be the focal point. So there's this really complicated docking. They make it seem like it's going to be this huge deal, where Captain Lee has to throw out the front anchors and get it into place. Oh, P.S. Francesca is crying because she sees a friend on another boat, and it just reminds her. She's saying that they don't think of her as human on this boat. They don't see her as a person. They see her as bitchy and a mean chief stew. I'm sorry, Francesca, but that's your own doing. That's that lack of communication. The primary talks with Rachel and tells her she's absolutely amazing. Rachel admits that she read the provision lists and you don't know, what you're going to get, but then you meet them and, their enthusiasm was so strong it made her step up a notch. And I thought that was the most perfect thing to say. The guests leave, everyone hugs. Primary says Rachel is the best chef he's ever encountered. He hands the captain a big fat envelope. He leaves so happy he was actually crying. So they have the tip meeting, right? This group left them $25,000. So they end up making $22.50 a piece, which is a fantastic tip for 3 days. I thought it was well deserved, but just a great tip. So everybody's getting ready. They're going to go to a donkey sanctuary. And the captain says, you can either stay here and scrub your ass off, or you can come with us. Most of them decide to go. A few of them stayed back, Eddie, Francesca, and Rachel. Eddie wanted to take a nap, and Lee says, I'm taking my jackasses to see those jackasses. So they go, and it's cool to see them off the boat. We see Eddie is working hard, maintaining the boat, and Francesca is doing meditation. She's doing her breathing. She says she doesn't know what to do about Elizabeth. So they all return. Francesca pages Elizabeth to meet her in the Sky Lounge. Okay, so Francesca wants to talk to her about the charter. And Elizabeth is like, really? Because she's saying, I feel like your priorities are in the wrong spot. Just at the perfect timing, I'm sure it's the magic of editing, James walked by and she is completely distracted. Okay, so here's my thoughts that I was going to get to on this. I see it. I see that Elizabeth is not good at her job. She is not a good listener. I've heard a lot of feedback from you guys about this. She just doesn't listen or care to listen. So I understand Francesca's frustration. However, even in this meeting, when Francesca was like, you need to change your priorities. You need to, what did she say? She said, I don't know that I need to explain it anymore. She's not giving clear, solid feedback on Elizabeth on what she's doing wrong. We can see what Elizabeth's doing wrong. But in the moment, she's being a terrible boss. She's not telling Elizabeth, listen, this is, I know, I can hear you guys. She probably shouldn't have to spell it out, but you got what you got. She's keeping Elizabeth. You do have to spell it out. So you need to tell her exactly what she needs to fix because she doesn't seem to understand or take initiative on her own. Is that Francesca's fault? No. But what is Francesca's fault is the lack of communication. It just keeps coming up. So she ends up taking her extra stripe away. She trades stripe with her. Elizabeth says she's upset. She tries her hardest every day, and this is personal. It's not business. Well, Elizabeth, that's where you're wrong. Izzy goes to talk to Elizabeth, and Ashley's in there, and Elizabeth is saying she was just demoted. Aisling is saying, oh, shit. But she ends up saying she understands completely why Francesca did this. Okay, so Izzy and Elizabeth cannot seem to learn that people can hear them when they're talking. So they're talking freely. And, of course, they're talking about what BS it is and how Francesca sucks. And who should hear them? Francesca. So she was already in a low point, and Izzy's calling her a fake bitch, which I gotta agree with Izzy. P.S. Izzy's my favorite. I know she sucked on the interior, but I love her. It used to be Rachel, but I'm loving Izzy right now. And in real life. And I don't know if you've heard recently, she came out, and she I just love her. I think she's fantastic. Okay. So Fran's listening, and Izzy's been caught, and Elizabeth's been caught. Francesca's like, hey, you guys are talking about me. Do you want to involve me? And Izzy's saying, this isn't my department. And Fran says, so then why are you here, Izzy? And Izzy says, I'm listening to a friend. Great answer. Francesca walks off. She's kind of laughing, kind of manically. Elizabeth says, I don't want to get fired over this. I haven't said anything. And I want to say, Elizabeth, you're an idiot. Just take Izzy, just close the door. I don't know. Take Izzy in the bathroom. Talk to her there. You could have vented on the private island, but you chose to do it on a teeny boat where everybody can hear everything. So everybody's getting ready to go out that night. We see, so Izzy, this was hard. So Eddie started talking about how he's turned 35 and he's kind of having a breakdown, or so he says about it. Izzy's saying she had a breakdown at the beginning of last year, and they ask her why. She tells this incredibly powerful and sad story about an assault. And I really don't want to get into it because trigger warning and all that, but I'll just say Izzy's my hero. That's a lot to share, and I believe that she did it to maybe help somebody else, and she's just going through a lot, and it kind of let me see more of Izzy, and I respect her. Okay, let's move on. Everybody's at dinner. James and Elizabeth are getting shit canned, as is Rachel, and everybody's saying, James and Elizabeth are going to hook up. Rachel is saying, 72 hours ago, I quit. In retrospect, everything is good, and she just wants to get wasted. Rachel is getting more and more wasted, and everybody's kind of watching. And did you see Rachel actually ended up getting up and wandering over to another table? She says to Eddie, and I quote, relax, you son of a bitch, relax. There's nothing like somebody saying that to you to make you not tense up, right? So Eddie is still, he's bothered by her, and he's talking to Francesca saying it really bothers him that Rachel abandoned them. So I get what Eddie's saying. He may be taking it all a bit too personally, but he really doesn't have much more of a storyline, so sure, why not? James is saying he wants to go out and go dancing and go partying, so they end up going to this club. Not something we've seen him do much of this season. I'm sure some of you guys pointed out it's probably due to coronavirus, but we do get to see him go dancing. They are wasted. Fran tells Aisling that she really likes Rob, and so at first I thought, I think Robert's a good-looking guy. Some of you guys pointed out that you thought he kind of looks like Francesca, which is funny. He says that he doesn't know what to do with himself in social situations. So I'll give him a pass for that, but I was really turned off by him this episode. He seems to like Francesca, but he cannot grab the bull by the horns. He can't seem to make a move on her, and it makes it awkward. And so she's like putting these vibes out there, and he doesn't know what to do with it. So he's just kind of, again, awkward. Okay, so he says he's always been quite aloof. They all dance. They end up going back to the boat. And so James and Elizabeth have decided they're going to get in the hot tub here. Everybody else pretty much goes to bed except for Rachel. Rachel is me. She's the one drunk eating. She's like, this might be stale, but she eats it anyway. So we do see Elizabeth and James smooching, making out, whatever, in the hot tub. So good for them. So they keep kissing, and Rachel's drunk eating. And then we get a flash to later in the season. So again, not much happened this episode, but I'm looking forward to see what all goes down this season. Lots of stuff seems to be going down. Eddie telling James to keep work and pleasure separate. Eddie didn't take his own advice on the season he was with Rocky. James is flirting with Aisling, so that's interesting. He smooched Elizabeth in this one, but he seems to be flirting with Aisling in the future. We see, what's that, Queen of Versailles, it looked like her possibly coming back. And she's talking about where, unfortunately, her daughter passed. So Lee gets upset because, of course, he lost his son not that long ago. So that's heartbreaking. I just hate seeing that. All of a sudden, it looks like Rob starts acting like an asshole. And everybody's kind of calling him on it. So I'm very curious to see what that's about. To me, he just seems dorky and kind of reserved. So I'm curious what sets that off. One of the guests jumps in the water, and I don't know what this is about. I'm guessing, it appears to be maybe part of that Queen of Versailles group. So I believe that's the one that pushes Lee over the edge, and he says this is over. We do see more of Francesca versus Elizabeth, so that's not a huge shocker there. Then we see the group starting to talk about coronavirus. So we knew that was coming. What all's going on in 2020. So it sounds like they're going to have to figure something out there. So I'm curious to see how they handle it. So that's it for the episode. Again, not a crazy episode, but I tell you, coming off that shitty Mediterranean season, I'll take it. I'm enjoying watching it. I'm enjoying recapping it. You guys are fantastic. I'm going to try to catch up with the comments soon. I'm sorry. I'm reading them all. It's just hard to respond sometimes, but I will get back to you. Thank you all so much for the comments. Check out all my other recaps. I got a lot of other stuff I'm recapping right now. Thank you guys so much, and I hope you have a fantastic week. And if this is where I leave you, I hope you have a fantastic New Year. Screw 2020, yay 2021. Let's just have a better year. Okay. Thank you guys so much. I will talk to you guys soon. Take care of yourself. Stay healthy. Bye-bye.